Marie Forleo popularized the concept, everything is figureoutable. That can be helpful in some places, but in others, it's actually going to keep you stuck. There's a powerful question that you can ask yourself, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. If we haven't met before, welcome to the NeuroMagical Life channel. I'm Joan Gregerson, and I help people live peaceful, playful, powerful lives. When I first learned that concept of everything is figureoutable, it felt so empowering. At the time, I was starting to learn digital marketing, and that wasn't anything that I had in my background. And Marie's presence and message was so helpful. That everything is figureoutable is based on something that her mother used to tell her, which is life is not that complicated. If there's something that you want in life, then you can have it. Roll up your sleeves and make it happen. Marie's book, Everything is Figureoutable, was published in 2019. At that time, you would go to Google or YouTube and watch videos, and that's when the term YouTube University came about. That idea that whatever you want to learn, you no longer have to wait. You can just dive in and make it happen. Now that you can have a chat with your AI buddy, you feel like everything is figureoutable. So when all the information is out there, why are there still areas where you're stuck? That's when you need to turn to this other question, which is, am I coachable? Being coachable means I don't need just a bunch of information. I am open to someone looking at my personal situation, having a relationship with me, and guiding me so that I can make progress faster and easier. And those coaching situations can come in all different shapes and sizes. A friend of mine told me that one time she went to a conference where there were thousands of people in this big ballroom type of setting. And they were told to start walking around, and when they were given a signal to stop, look at the person in front of them and tell them exactly what they needed to hear. And she said it was absolutely crazy that in each case, when she stopped and heard something from someone else, it was spot on. And it wasn't just you need to get up earlier to comb your hair. It was more like your relationship with your mom is impacting your ability to launch your new business, or something very specific and in depth. And the same with her, that when she stopped and saw someone else and just thought, what is it that this person needs to hear? She gave them a message and they were just like, wow, that's exactly what I needed to hear. And that goes along with the saying that you cannot read the label on the outside of a jar when you are inside of it. You cannot read the label on the jar when you are inside the jar. Why is that? Why is it that a random person might be able to see exactly what you need? Part of it is that when we're going through life, we're only conscious of about 5% of what's happening. The other approximately 95% is running on autopilot. So those things that we're doing, we're not even conscious of, we're not even seeing. And so that's one of the big things, is that when you're working with a coach, they can see things that you can't. And when you're just Googling things, you're self-directed and you may be asking the wrong questions, going down the wrong road. And that's why it can feel so exhausting. You're never reaching that place that you wanted, is because you got going the wrong direction to start with. So next time you get stuck, you start asking yourself that question, am I coachable? Okay, it's probably unlikely that some random person on the street or that you just bump into is going to tell you that life-changing information. But your family and friends often can, or your coworkers. The people that know you best, that see your patterns, when they suggest something, it's very common for us to say, number one, I've already tried that. Number two, that won't work for me. And number three, I'm unique. You can't understand what I'm going through. And of course, you do need to have some discernment. So when people are saying things, you need to go inside, be able to really check and see, does this make sense for me? I had someone the other day tell me, hey, you mentioned something about your housing. Have you ever looked into this housing program here? And I was just getting ready to say all those things. That won't work for me. I already checked it out. I have a unique situation. When I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe it's my little inner coach said, am I being coachable in this moment? And so I paused And I went and explored what she was suggesting. And because a few things have recently changed for me, it's actually a perfect fit. And that is where Am I Coachable is more powerful than Everything is Figureoutable. Because Everything is Figureoutable often has a hidden little sub phrase on there, which is by myself. I can do it myself. I can figure it out on my own. Another area where coaching can be so helpful is a peer group, a support group. I'm a big fan of 12-step programs, and I know they don't work for everyone. The way I got in there was one of my family members was having trouble with alcohol, and I wanted to tell them all about Alcoholics Anonymous and how they needed to get in there. And the person at the desk that I was asking about this said, we actually have a program for you, which is called Al-Anon for families of alcoholics. And I kept insisting, yeah, whatever, but I need the information to give them. The person there gave me the information about Al-Anon and some brochures to get started and when the next meetings were. And although I was resisting, as soon as I started reading through the materials, it spoke to me. And I knew, wow, these people are going through exactly what I'm experiencing and they're finding peace. And I surrendered just enough to start going to the meetings and start learning. And as I did, I thought, wow, why are we all not taught these 12 steps, this process of surrender, letting go of resentments, the power of a group, consistency and process. I experienced so much healing and so much transformation and so many aha moments in those recovery rooms. And I went back for other programs along the way. So if you're feeling stuck in any area, there are now hundreds of 12-step programs, other types of recovery programs where people with the same issue come together. It's not just about alcohol use. It can be drug use, pornography, cluttering, deading, overeating. If there's an area that you're struggling in, you don't have to go it alone. That was one of the big messages that I understood as I went through the 12-step program. The isolation is part of the problem. And that's why when you take the approach of everything is figureoutable by myself with Google, YouTube, and ChatGPT, you might be perpetuating that willfulness, that inability to be in relationships, that inability to give help or receive help that can be so powerful in your healing. So you may not have thought about that as coaching, but if somebody says to you, hey, I'm in this program and it's really helping with this, instead of saying, I'm not that kind of person, that won't work for me, you might try going to the website, reading some of the materials, attending a meeting. You can dial in, you can join by Zoom. There are meetings every day around the clock. So that feeling of isolation can just disappear and open the way for you to have a breakthrough when you allow yourself to be coachable in that peer support group setting. Or maybe you just want to work with someone who has a proven process that you know works. When I was trained as a holistic health coach, one of the most powerful strategies that we were taught is something called motivational interviewing. The way I was raised, and for the most part, the way I raised my kids, the direction for why you need to change comes from outside. Somebody's telling you, you need to do this. Why aren't you doing this? When you do motivational interviewing, as I learned and did as a coach on the Tobacco Quit line, I would help people understand when they came forward with something they wanted to change in their life. Our job as a coach was to affirm their ability to change, find out what is their motivation for changing, and let them express it in their own words, with their own values, and then we bring the process along in a way that fits into exactly what they're trying to do. One of my favorite questions to ask people was, what do you love about smoking? And most people were shocked to even hear that because for most of their life they've heard, stop smoking. Why are you smoking? Don't you know it's bad for you? It smells, blah, blah, blah. But when you ask someone, what do you love about smoking? The answers were so surprising. One father of a young toddler said that every time his kid would have a meltdown and just be losing it, everybody in the family would start to get frustrated. He would step outside, smoke a cigarette, calm down, come back in, and he would be the one that could break that cycle. So I was like, wait, you're a meditator. So the thought of giving up smoking and not being able to have that function is something that our process, that our coaching could help him see. So it was easy enough to figure out what are other ways that you could calm down. What are some other ideas that you have? So if you're trying to quit smoking, lose weight, or break some addiction, the questions that you are searching for, the conversations that you're having with AI might not be getting to the real root of the questions that you need to be asking yourself. And that's where coaching can come in. And as effective that one-to-one coaching can be, you might be surprised that group coaching is often more impactful. It's more effective. You've had that experience, I'm sure, where you're in a group, you're working on something, and someone else asks a question that you haven't even thought about. Maybe it's something that you initially did effortlessly, but now it's tripping you up, or this person's a little further along, or you're just confused, and they articulate something in a way that you hadn't even gotten to yet. And there's some key design features of these group coaching programs. If you think of the most effective ones, it often had a very focused outcome. You had a certain amount of time in which to do it. You had a regular cadence, and you had a group of people that you could bond and interact with. And there is magic in that. And that's why the challenge format works so well. It's not just for wellness, it's not just for business, it can be applied anywhere. In 2020, I wrote a book called Climate Action Challenge, a proven plan for launching your eco initiative in 90 days. As someone who's worked in the sustainability field, the environmental field for decades, I realized that people were being told to change their environmental ways. Don't drive so much, don't use plastic, don't do this, don't do that. But they weren't being coached, they weren't being supported, and they didn't have a fun structure like a challenge. After that book was published, with Green Team Academy, we facilitated the International Climate Action Challenge, and teams from around the world came into that structure. We had a beginning date and that 90-day period where they needed to get their group together, plan a day of action, measure their impact, and then share their results in a 1-minute video and share those with the world. It helped them move from no one's showing up to my events, nobody cares, my volunteers aren't sticking around, all these common things that we know happen when someone tries to launch a community-based project. These are things that I didn't know when I first failed many times as I got going, but after a while it's predictable. You know what those steps are, and it was easy for us to lead people through that process. When you really commit and dive in and participate in a challenge, you can surprise yourself with how well things go. As you start gaining momentum and building relationships and having fun, the reason is that challenge model is designed for human behavior. It has that gamification, there's rewards, small wins, visibility, accountability. And it was funny because at the end of our challenges, people often said, we don't want to stop and lose these connections with these people that have become instant friends because they understand what we're trying to do. You can see the beauty and the value in what other people are trying to bring forth, and it's easy to encourage them to keep going. This is so important because a lot of times our friends and family, they don't understand what it is that we're struggling with, what our vision is, what we're trying to do. But your fellow participants in a challenge, in a group coaching cohort, really get you quickly and immediately, and it's easy to form those kind of bonds that can last a lifetime. Okay, so now we've looked at all the different ways that you can be coachable. You can open up to messages that you hear from people that just meet you, from your friends and family, from a peer support group, from a coach who's walking you through a proven process, or a group coaching program or challenge. So let's do an activity together now. This is called the 5 coaches exercise. Quite a while back, I heard something that stuck with me, and that is that Oprah has 5 coaches. At the time that I heard that, I did not understand. I thought, wait, she is a billionaire. She has all these things going on. Why would she need coaches? But as I've gotten into it, I realize that's how you do it. It's not that you start out at the top, it's that you are coachable. So if you were going to get coaching in 5 different areas of your life, what would that be? parenting, marriage, finances, or maybe something specific like pickleball, juggling, gardening. Do you want to solve issues around overeating, or do you want to be a bodybuilder? Maybe it's around confidence or your communication style, home buying or home selling. It could be around nutrition or weight loss, mobility. Do you want to do a handstand? Or managing your stress, or getting off to a strong start of the day with your morning routine? Whatever it is, put it in the comments. What are your 5 areas that you could be more coachable? And now is a perfect time for me to remind you, if you've been struggling with stress, anxiety, and overwhelm, and are tired of trying to figure that out on your own, ask yourself, am I coachable? If the answer is yes, then check out our 5-day NeuroMagical morning challenge, where you go from chaos to calm with a gentle routine in the first 30 minutes of your day. Head over to mymorningchallenge.com to sign up for our next monthly challenge, and I hope to see you there. And if you haven't yet, please like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend so we can help others become more coachable and live peaceful, playful, powerful lives. And remember to share in the comments, what are those 5 areas that you could be more coachable? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.